Greetings and welcome to Connecting with Intent Formula Show. I am your host Muhammad Awais. On this episode, we have a very special guest. He is the business and advisory consultant, Steve Casey. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Steve Casey. Steve, welcome.
Nice to speak to you.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
I think it goes back to a long time. I think when I was a young child, maybe 8 years old, and I was with my father, who definitely is an inspirational figure to me. He was a very busy guy, an executive, father to 6 children, had several brothers and sisters, but he was really a go-to guy for everyone who needed help. And I was young. We were doing some work for our church, which he did found time to do that as well. And he always told me how important it is to be grateful for what you have, and it's very important that you help others. And I'm not sure if those were exact words, but I remember where we were. I remember the weather, and it just hit me that my mission and everyone's mission should be to help others. I know it's simple, but I try to incorporate that into my everyday life.
Thank you for sharing that story, Steve. What is your higher purpose in life?
Well, I think it's just that to help people. As I started saying that my father inspired me, okay, and part of it was to make this world a better place. And I think in every one of my jobs, I try to do that. I worked for a big bank, and my function was to help people earn bonuses. That was one of my first jobs when I was young. Another business I started with my brother, and it was an energy business, and we were trying to bring more financial efficiency to deregulating energy. Then I moved on to my own advisory business in energy. That turned into not just green energy, but it turned into the Alberline Group, which was more of a impact investing firm. And that was, I think, a great place to be for a while. And now, even after that, I have my own advisory business. But even in my spare time, I try to help people. I teach SATs to students here in the U.S. And just every day, I hold doors for people. I help people if there's a lot of bags that they need carrying to their car. I'm always looking for small opportunities just to make people's life a little bit easier. And not only do I do that, I try to use that as an inspiration for my two daughters. I've got two young adult children, and I try to teach them two things. Just what my father said, make this world a better place by helping people. And also, equally important, when you make a decision, own it, take responsibility. Sometimes it's not going to go well, but take that responsibility, learn from it. And when it goes well, also take responsibility then. So I think those are maybe two higher purposes in life.
That's a powerful purpose. What have been top three greatest challenges that you have had to overcome?
Uh, I think overcoming some great fears of maybe public speaking. That first job I told you with a bank where there was a big merger. Um, Everyone was waiting for the layoffs to be announced, and I got some great advice. You can wait and see if you make it or not, or you can go out and do something. And what I did is I went out and I did something. I went out and I spoke to. We had about 450 branches. I tried to meet with all of them in groups, and I explained what my program was. I didn't really have full management approval to do that, but I just did it and said, if they're going to fire me or let me go, let me go. But I'm going to try to bring this good thing that I had with my side of the bank to the other side, and we'll see what happens. And that was very fearful for me to do it. But I did it. Maybe I was a little desperate, worried about losing my job, but I did it, and it worked out really, really well. I think that was one big one. Um, my first day at high school, I went to a high school that was a few towns over. Um, my brother was there ahead of me, so I knew him and a couple of his friends. My father was a big influence at that school. So all of the teachers and the administration knew me, but I knew nothing. I knew no one in that school. And it was very intimidating for me to be in a new place and not knowing anyone. It was quite fearful. Worked out very well, but those first couple of weeks or months were very, very difficult. And I think the third thing was my divorce. My wife and I, we diverged, and it's unfortunate, and I'm still recovering from it. It's still a challenge for me right now. It's been a couple of years, but it was very debilitating to me. It came at a bad time. I view it as one of my biggest failures not to be able to continue that marriage.
Thank you, Steve, for sharing your challenges.
Mm-hmm.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
Can you repeat that question?
Let me see. Now, first question was the three greatest challenges. This
Yes.
is greatest failure story.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yeah.
Probably the greatest failure story is a business. I started a business. Well, my brother started the business, but I was maybe employee number five, and we grew to about 50 people. And uh, after a short period of time, about 18 months, someone offered us many millions of dollars to buy us out. Um, I was one of the partners. My brother was a lead partner, and there were maybe four or five other people that were partners. And we were all young, aggressive, thought we were smart. We all said no. We thought we were going to make it many hundreds of millions. Well, there was a crisis in the industry 6 months later, and we ended up selling the business and made very little money in the end. So I think, to me, that was a failure from a business perspective. We had an opportunity and we got greedy. But on the flip side, I got a lot out of it as well. I had the opportunity to work with my brother. We sort of separated him going his way, me going my way prior to that professionally and in living. We were living far away from one another. That brought us together, and it reacquainted us. It was easy to do once. It wasn't a real challenge, but it was a blessing that I'll never forget. And even though, to me, it was my greatest business failure, but I also got a lot out of it as well. So that took a lot of the sting out of it. And I also learned a lot from working there. It was a tremendous experience of learning.
What is the impactful book you have read and what did you learn from it?
Okay, I think I'm actually going to make it two books because one of them is very, very old. It's a book called In Search of Excellence by Tom Peters. It's a book from the 80s, 1980s. And what it did is it opened my mind that you don't measure a business purely by metrics. I grew up, or I learned or entered the business world as an analyst. So I was always trying to find data and finding a great way to measure a business. And what that book opened my eyes to, and I think it was early before a lot of people realized that culture is important. You need to have a good culture. You need to get accountability spread throughout your organization. You have to get as many people in your organization to understand the message of your firm, what you're trying to do. And I think that was a very, I guess, memorable book at the time because it sort of, to me, changed or introduced to the world that there are things beyond metrics. And then another book that I read recently in the last couple of years was a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. And again, I'm being an analyst. I still rely on data and data analysis and numbers. And he reminded me that, yes, that's very important and it should not be ignored. It should be very important to your organization. But do not be afraid of using your gut feeling. If you've had a fair amount of success, if you have a fair amount of experience in what you're talking about, what you're trying to decide. Don't be afraid of trusting your gut. So I think those are two books that I think were very memorable to me that I try to incorporate into my business life.
That's great. What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Okay. I think to hopefully keep a balanced and healthy life is probably very important to me. I think that's a key to success. You have to measure success in many different ways. But I think the reason why I'm on this podcast and the reason that what I'm really focusing on now is this relatively new business that I started, SC Advisory, and uh, I think it I think I want it to be more than just expense management. That's what I do. I help small to mid-sized companies with a little bit of their expense management on a 100% performance based basis. But I think I can take it beyond that, and I think I see a future in my business of not only offering cost management, but I see sustainability, which I have a background in. That being talked about a lot with large companies, but it's being pushed down to smaller companies as well. And I think that's something I can help people put together sustainability planning, and then not only plan it and develop that plan, but help them execute it. And then a further product I want to offer is corporate planning for small and mid-sized companies. Many of these are closely held, maybe really majority owned by one person. That person may be looking towards retirement or slowing down. And I think that's something that these companies do not have a good track record in planning. I really think a good succession plan, a good exit plan actually takes a long time to develop. And I think I understand what the needs are for a company to do that. And I'd love to incorporate that into my practice as well. So I think I want to, number one, get the expense business going, but also start making headway into these other areas as well.
I appreciate Steve you sharing your goals with us. What advice you will give to younger yourself?
Or maybe slow down, be more thoughtful. I ran hard, worked hard, played hard, lived hard um, when I was much younger. And I don't regret it necessarily, but I think sometimes I forgot to just take a step back and be thoughtful. Maybe take a look at the balance in your life. You have physical health, mental health, spiritual engagement, and social engagement. And I think I reacted rather than managing it. And I think I was lucky I did okay, but I wish I'm trying to tell my daughters that to try to just slow down a little bit. You don't need to just rush for success. You'll get there.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this, Steve. How can we support you?
Well, it's a big world out there, and I'm just one person trying to do everything right now. I want to hire people in time, but right now I'm at that early stages of building something, and what I need is to get my message out. My message is I can help you, and not only will I help you, I will not charge you anything to do the analysis. I will do the analysis for free, make a proposal to you. If you like that proposal, I'll implement that proposal for you. And then how I get paid and earn is, number one, I feel good about helping you, but number two, I just share in the improvements that I've made. So there's minimal risk on the company. So I want that message to get out there, and I'm hoping that this podcast and your company can help me broaden that.
What would you say about your guest appearance on the show?
Oh, I think it's a great forum. It gets my message out. It gets not only my message, but hopefully my personality shows through. And I hope that what's shown is that I am very customer focused, and where I attack this business is from a good place. I'm not looking to um, maximize. Well, I guess I am trying to maximize my revenue, but I'm trying to maximize it in a collaborative way and in a good way. I will only see success if my customer sees equal amounts or more of success.
Thank you for sharing your kind words. I appreciate you for this, Steve. What closing thoughts would you like to share with our listeners?
Well, I mentioned the advice that I got from my father, and I think I got it from my mother, or she also helped us reinforce that. And I really believe that if we all work together, and instead of just focusing on 100% or majority on ourselves, find a little bit of effort, a little bit of opportunity to help others. And I know that sounds simple, but I think it is that simple. Every day, try to do something that helps somebody, even if it's just a good morning, or opening a door for somebody, or just try to help one person every day. And if we all do that, I think there'll be a lot less conflict in this world.
Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your wisdom with us on the behalf of connecting with the Intent Formula community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Wes. Until the next episode, all good wishes.